This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to dunk. This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down to dunk.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm going to share with my team, but I'm going to hog most of them.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. With me today, on Wednesday, is my good friend Alex Spears. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew? Happy Wednesday.
It's been a week. It's been a good it's been a good week for the Thunder. They rebounded after that just debacle of a game in Memphis to do what they've done all season, where this isn't the first time this team has looked horrific in the first half. That Lakers game at home, I remember looking over at somebody at halftime and just be like, man, this is about as bad as a team can play. And they came back and won the game. They did it against the Kings, they did it against the Spurs, and they did it again against the Pistons, where they kind of had to recalibrate. And even some of it was just like crazy hot shooting from the Pistons that they had to rebound from.
Yeah.
But they stuck with it. They played solid defense, and they just continued to get downhill. And they pulled the game out. It was really quite impressive. Then the Pistons had to deal with the Thunder shot making in the fourth quarter, where they just didn't miss.
The second half was so impressive, and I think it was needed. Like, I know we want a high pick and everything, but you have to, like, within that organization, I have to imagine those guys want to come out and respond after the Memphis game.
No doubt.
Because it was so bad. You want to it's not like you're going to save any face, because that's a record. It's always going to be there forever. But you just want to show people, like, hey, that's not what we're actually like. And this was the perfect opportunity to do it, because you're playing a team like Detroit. And so when they came out and were so flat, I was really getting worried. Like, what is going on with this team? And to see them come out in that second half, and a lot of it was Kenrich Williams. A lot of it was Dort shooting 5 of 10 from 3. I looked it up.
Yep.
Andrew, check this out. In his last 12 games, Dort is shooting 40% from 3.
Yeah.
If you take out the first 5 games of the season, just the first 5, when he was 5 of 25, he was terrible. If you take out those games, he's shooting 36% on the season on 8 attempts per game. Like that's incredible. If this continues, and so his overall average now is right about where it was last year. It's about 33.5%. We'll round up to 34%.
That's still way better than what we could or would have ever expected on that kind of volume.
Right. And you combine that with his newfound finishing, which wasn't necessarily there against Detroit, but has been there the rest of the season. And now, like, his points per game average is 17 points per game right now. Like, that's starting to look real and not just like a good stats, bad team guy, because of the way he's doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
On a team that has some more, like maybe 2 or 3 like good scores on it to go with this squad, like the fact that you feel comfortable saying like he can be the best defender and average like 12 points a game. Like I feel very confident in that. And the Thunder, honestly, I mean, you kind of like think about the first like championship level team, and he's like the Serge Ibaka level player, right? Like for the squad already. You know what I mean?
You think he's that good?
Do you not?
I don't know. Prime Serge was like, I mean, he was special.
You don't think Dort is special?
I do think Dort is special. I don't know if I'm ready to put him in the prime Serge Ibaka. Like
he's 22. He's 22.
I know. I'm going to hold off on that. Could he be the 4th best player on this team when they're good? Yes.
Yeah.
Is he going to be as good as prime Ibaka? I don't know.
Peak Ibaka?
Peak Ibaka. Yes. It's been a long time since I've heard that.
I know. It's been a long time since we talked about Peak Ibaka.
Peak Ibaka.
I think he can do it. I honestly do. Because think about the improvements that we've seen from him from day one. He started with the blue. The first place I interviewed him at was at the dog food factory Thunder practice facility.
Yeah.
And he was there practicing with the blue and hadn't played a game yet for the Thunder. And he was just like, yeah, I'm just looking for a shot. And to go from that to this, I mean, if on draft night, we're like, yeah, they signed this guy that, kind of off the scrap heap. He was supposed to be a first round pick and fell because he can't shoot. Like, man, hey, listen, when he's 22, he's going to be 17 points, 4 boards, almost 2 assists, shooting 43% from the field, 34% from 3. And be like, you're nuts. Like, that's nuts.
And we've seen with players like Bays, who I actually thought played well against Detroit, but like that's hard to do.
Lift the ban for one pod.
Yeah, let's say on the Monday or Wednesday pods, I can say Bays. I haven't banned talk of Bays, but like what Dort's doing is not like anyone can do it. Like the good stats bad team guy is kind of what we saw last year from Bays, where he was getting stats, but he was doing it very inefficiently.
From Bays, from Poku, from
from
like all those guys, right?
Well, not Ty Jerome, take that back. But with Dort, it just feels everything is sustainable. If the finishing at the rim is real, everything feels sustainable.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he's shooting like wild. It's not like at the beginning of last year when he was shooting like 45%.
Yeah.
Like this is probably a more normal situation for him. And again, like if we just remove those first 5 games, which I know you shouldn't do, but still, if he just continues what he is, you could see him being at like 36% by the end of the season. And that wouldn't be crazy.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing. The other thing I wanted to say was about Shai, how that was one of the most like heliocentric versions of this version of the Thunder that we've seen. He and I looked it up because I wanted to check his usage in that game. Did you know his last 2 games, Detroit and Houston, both are in the top 5 for his career in terms of usage?
Wow.
He had like a 39 usage in the game against Houston, and he had like a 35 or 36 usage against Detroit. And usage does not even take into account assists. So like that was his best assist game in his career against Detroit. That was just like a Luka level, Trey level game from Shai, where he is just like completely dominating everything. And I thought that was really interesting because of how good it looked, especially in the second half. Like the way he was breaking down the defense, kicking out to shooters. Actually, Dort was hitting shots. He had some really nice passes to cutters.
Yep.
Like I just thought it was an incredible game from Shai. And it's just an interesting setup because coming into the season, we know we have Josh Giddey, and early in the season, it felt like they were kind of at the same level in terms of who's going to be the playmaker on this team. And at least for these last couple games, it has been when they've both been on the court, it is Shai like dominating. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, we'll see how that develops going forward, but at least for this game and the Houston game, it was the Shai show the entire way.
Yeah. When he can drive that many times during a game and get to the spots that he wants to go, I mean, that's the kind of player that he is. That's the player he's going to continue to be. I mean, he said, I asked him after the game, because he only took 2 threes in that whole game. Like, was that intentional? Were you just, taking what the defense was giving you? Like, give me a reason why. He played like that, and he said that he really was intentional about getting downhill the whole game. He's like, he was going to fight through whatever. And he was on pace to like completely eclipse, his free throw record in a game and slowed down toward the end of the game. And also like the Pistons stopped fouling him. But like that was really impressive. Dort's 5 threes were really impressive. I asked Mark about Dort after the game. He said like nothing that he does surprises him anymore. That he just is that hard of a worker, that he puts in the time, and that, the kind of shooter that he's become is, he said it doesn't surprise him at all, just watching the way that he works on his shot. So I don't know, man.
And you found out afterwards how good of friends Shai and Dort are. I didn't know they lived down the street from each other.
Yeah,
That's fun. That's
best
some
buds.
Thunder U vibes for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. There's some Thunder U there, definitely. Yeah, with those two, and then number 7 played better in that game. The post game stuff. What did you think of his post game run up on Shai? Uh-oh. You back? You're muted. Oh no. Okay. He did play better as far as defensively goes. He had some nice blocks, which I think is something that he's going to continue to contribute to this team. He's really the only shot blocker on the team at all, which gives him like some value when he's out there. Poku would be the other one. Poku's got good timing. He actually had a really nice block in that game as well. And Poku actually played a nice, solid game. He had the one move to the basket where he finished, and it was cool. And then he just kind of played solid the rest of his minutes. I thought he probably deserved a little bit more time than he got. But as far as blocks go, I mean, he's the only player on the team averaging at least a block a game. The other guy's Paul Watson, but he's played just no minutes at all. Everybody else is either, I mean, Shai's at like 0.7, Giddey 0.6, Muscala 0.6, Poku 0.5. Like nobody else is averaging hardly any blocks per game. I'm actually interested to see.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay, welcome back. Darius is 1.5 blocks per 36. Poku's 1.2. I was curious how close they would be, just because he's gotten so many minutes.
And the Bays blocks, I mean, one of them was like just a regular block underneath the basket, but the other two, like he blocked Cade on a 3-point attempt, and then he blocked Isaiah Stewart on like a mid-range fall away. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I would say for both Giddey and Bays, the way they scored in that game was very good. Like for Giddey, we've talked about it. Like his shot is not there right now. And he also has trouble breaking down a defense when it's just him isoing. He actually had 4 turnovers in this game, and a lot of those came when he was trying to do that. But when he did score, 2 of them came off of him cutting to the basket from the corner. Awesome. The other 2 came from him getting like a dribble handoff and going downhill and scoring at the basket. Yep. Great. Like those are the 2 ways that it's going to be easiest for him to score right now. And as a result, he was 5 of 6. And that one miss was when Shai passed it to him when there was like 1 second left on the clock and he just had to throw it up. So I really like that. And same with Bays, like his 2 misses, predictably a 3, and then him trying to, do one of his ISO drives from 3-point line that never work out. But all his other ones, I mean, it's only 3 shots, but it's him cutting, it's him finding space. It's him just being a good play finisher, kind of like Kenrich does all the time. Like that is what Kenrich is so good at.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine a scenario where if Bays just accepted that role and was just focused on that stuff, because he is a good rebounder, his shot blocking seems completely legit. If he could develop into a above average defender, I don't know if he's a starter on a good team, but he could be in like 8th man off the bench that brings you energy and that kind of stuff. So, that's where I am with Bays right now on Wednesday, December 8th. After weeks of bad games, he had like a decent game. I'm trying to be a little nice.
After sustained, I mean, I was so disappointed with him. We talked about it Friday. I was so disappointed with how he played against Memphis. I mean, that was a debacle.
Well, the worst part about that Memphis game was that they scored 5 points in the fourth quarter. Like the rest of the game, fine. You're getting blown out by 50 or 60. At some point in the fourth quarter, you got to find out what the record is, and you have to put up more than 5 points in the fourth quarter. Hey, you didn't answer my question from Twitter. Who is the worst player in Thunder history who you could add to this current team? You get them at their OKC peak, and they would have prevented the worst loss in NBA history. You get them for one game. So you think about it, you're only having to save 8 points or whatever it was. I don't know how much they broke the record by. Was it only 5?
Yeah.
So they don't have to do a ton.
Hami?
Hami. I mean, he would definitely bring some energy. Is he the worst though? Can you get worse than Hami and still
worse
prevent
than
it?
Hami.
Some names people threw out, which I think are correct, like Moses Brown, probably get you there, get you over the line. I think he probably does. Like, I don't think it would have taken much.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I heard some Eton Thomases. A lot of people were
What is
saying
Eton Thomas doing? And that is bull. I don't believe that one.
a couple. No, so that's the two strategies. You either just get someone who's good at defense to stop a few shots, or you go, I'm just going to grab the best shooter I can, because if they make 3 threes, then you don't have to worry about it. So it's like Anthony Morrow, Daquan Cook, like just grab one of those.
Yeah, those make sense. Abrinas. Yeah, maybe if you get TLC on the right night.
Whoa, that's risky, Andrew. That's like John Hamm saying he picked DeAndre Liggins.
Oh, he's got to not be in prison. Is number one.
Which made me
Xboxes.
Made me think of Kyle Weaver, because Kyle Weaver was like the better version of DeAndre Liggins.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kyle Weaver, but I would not put him on that list. I would not put him on that list.
Can you imagine if Kyle Weaver was on the team today, how crazy we'd be going for him? We were going crazy for Kyle Weaver. I loved Kyle Weaver.
What did Kyle Weaver do while he was here? I mean, I just want to even look, because I'm not certain how much.
You haven't thought about Kyle Weaver in a long time?
He averaged 5 points a game.
Yeah.
In 20 minutes. He was 34% from 3 on 1.7 attempts.
Honestly, solid. Should we bring him back?
Year 2, he only played 12 games.
He got the Teo treatment.
He played 5 games for Utah, and then he was done.
Oh, by the way, I just brought up Teo.
Yeah.
So I was looking. I was trying to see what Shai's usage was, in these past few games. I was comparing it to last season to see where it ranked. And one of the games that I found, not for Shai, was Teo. Because you see a lot of guys who had like 40% usage, like Justin Jackson, and they played like 7 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a game from Teo last year where he had like a 39% usage.
Wow.
In 36 minutes, and it was a game against the Suns in which they lost by 37.
Wow.
I thought that was interesting. Good reminiscing about last year's basketball, Thunder basketball.
Yeah. Kyle Weaver once scored 19 points in a game. Maybe he had like this stretch where he went 19, 16, 4, 8, 18, 12, 13, 10.
We would have been going nuts, Andrew.
That must have been the stretch where we were like, you know what? I really like
Kyle Weaver's a guy.
He's pretty good. He had 3 threes against the Lakers.
Let's just go through all of his game logs.
You want to? All right. Game 1. He almost put up a Mario here. He had 1 assist in 1 minute. That's it.
He was number 5, right?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Big fan. Yeah, so anyways, they play the Raptors tonight. OG Anunoby is out, so it is entirely possible that the Thunder could win another game. The Raptors have not been impressive as of late, and now they're missing Anunoby. Andrew is leaving, which means you get the Al Baby Cake Show. Andrew is gone. Send your questions in. We have a listener from Poland. Welcome. Oh, there's Andrew's entire family walking across the screen. In terms of the tank currently, the Thunder, they obviously took a hit with the win. They're now behind New Orleans. So they're in the 4th spot. We have New Orleans, Orlando, and Detroit. Detroit and Orlando, especially if you look at Kirk Goldsberry's chart, and the Thunder are always in that bottom quadrant. They're clumped right next to Detroit and Orlando. All those teams are basically equal in terms of how they've performed. It just so happens that OKC has a couple more wins than them. I don't know what the answer for either of those teams is. I kind of have more faith in Detroit over Orlando. simply because they should be better. And you read their fan comments, and they're like not necessarily happy about what's going on right now. I mean, they obviously Detroit fans want a high pick,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you want to see development from the rest of this team. And Sadiq Bey has not been good this year.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant has not been good this year. Like, especially if you compare him to last year, where we were talking about like all-star buzz for Jeremy Grant. Ooh, should they flip him right now? Maybe they could actually get something. Oh, this was a good signing. Now it doesn't feel that way. Cade obviously looks good, but I just that team should be better. And I don't know if a coaching change is going to happen. That's like what all the Pistons fans talk about. If you go and like click on tweets about that game and read the comments, they all want to get rid of Dwayne Casey.
Jeremy's averaging like 20 points and 5 boards and almost 2.5 assists a game. Stealing
Not good. It's not good enough, Andrew. He's shooting 32.8% from 3.
Yeah, that's Jeremy though.
It's not. When he was in OKC, shot 39%. When he's in Denver, 39%. Last year, increases volume, dropped to 35%.
Yeah.
If he's now a 32% shooter,
I'm not bothered by that.
I think he's like the ultimate good stats, bad team guy.
Oh, wow. I really don't think that at all about Jeremy.
I absolutely think that.
Legit. I think he's like he could contribute on a really good team.
As a what?
As a 4.
As the fourth best player on the lineup.
Sure.
Yeah, so these stats he's putting up aren't real because you would never use them in a winning situation. He is not a winning player when he's playing like this.
I don't know, man.
They're one of the worst teams over the last 3 years. Check this out. In their last 161 games, they've won 44 games total.
Yeah.
When the process started, the Sixers process, in their first 161 games, they won 37 games. So it's like Detroit is 7 games above the awful in NBA history process tank. Like, they are a truly awful team.
Yeah, they are.
They do not get thought about that way. So the fact that Jeremy Grant's putting up stats for this team that has 4 wins and can't beat Oklahoma City, who was blown out by 73 points, like, dude, that's not impressive.
I just don't think it's Jeremy's fault. I think the rest of the roster is pretty bad. Now, I'm not saying that Jeremy could go be a 20-point scorer on a good team. I think he could be like a 13-point scorer on a good team. Like, he was great for the Nuggets. Like, he was really good for them.
He was playing as like their 4th best player.
Yeah, that's what he is. I'm just saying, like, he can still be a winning player. He's just not.
He can be a winning player. He's not right now playing like this. I don't see what this is doing for him. Like, if you're a team out there, you're not trading for him because he's playing like this. You're not saying, ooh, I want to just directly translate that onto my team and we're going to shoot off to the top of the standings.
I did not know you were such a Jeremy Grant hater.
I don't like the way Detroit's rebuild gets talked about, where like they get credit for signing all these veterans.
No,
and we're supposed to be impressed by it, and then they win 4 games.
Yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And then like you whiff on the Killian Hayes pick.
Whiff.
You know, like it's bad. Like, he is not a good player.
But even beyond that, like, he's just not a good backcourt mate for Cade right now. Like, the fact that
I don't know why they keep trying to force it, because they
are prioritizing losing.
Yeah.
Secretly, because they have these shiny objects like Jeremy Grant that they're dangling in front of the NBA, and everyone sees that and they're like, "Oh, this is a legitimate team trying to win." But no, they're not. It's Troy Weaver. He's off of the Sam Presti tree.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you that I don't love the way that other like bad tanking teams are covered, in comparison to OKC. But
you want to trade for Jeremy Grant.
But I need Jeremy Grant back on this team right now. No, the Jeremy Grant stuff is funny because I even had people popping up in my mentions like, man, I can't believe that we let him go or whatever. Like, listen, we traded Jeremy Grant for a 1st-round pick to Denver. Denver wanted to keep him. Denver would like to still have him to pair with the Aaron Gordon, front court or whatever. And then like you're completely versatile. You've got all these guys that can defend with Jokic. Like, it would have been great. They lost him for nothing, because he wanted to go play for an African American coach in an African American city with an African American GM. Like OKC is none of those things. Like all three, like doesn't check any of those boxes. So like, what makes the people that would have loved to keep Jeremy Grant think that Jeremy would have just stayed here? Because if Troy Weaver still goes to Detroit, like that's the situation where he goes. I mean, they also have the Syracuse tie. So I think even if the Thunder didn't trade him, he would have probably gone on to Detroit anyways, and the Thunder are left high and dry. So like, don't try to rehash that one, thinking that the Thunder were just going to magically keep him as an unrestricted free agent. I think they saw the writing on the wall and did the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, that pick became one of the picks that was traded for Poku.
Yeah.
It became Emmanuel quickly.
It's just another opportunity, another swing, just to have that.
I would say if they had kept the OKC team together, obviously I would have loved Jeremy to stay because I thought in that role he was awesome. I mean, the best versions of the OK3 team was actually when Melo was not playing and when Jeremy was in there, it was Steven Adams.
Yeah.
And when he was shooting 39% from three as a front court mate with Steven Adams, like you really started to believe like, whoa, this team could be something.
Yeah, definitely.
So yes, I'll always like him for that reason. Not impressed by what he's doing on a 4-win Detroit Pistons team. Don't care. It's meaningless. Has no meaning.
Oh man. What did you think of Poku's play? I thought that he was pretty good in his limited minutes against Detroit.
I mean, it was like 11 minutes. He had obviously had the one highlight.
He had the one highlight, but he had a block. I thought he played really well. I thought he earned more minutes.
I mean, he won't. I don't think he's going to get more minutes.
He will eventually. He will get more minutes this season. It will happen.
But like, what is the path to more minutes? Like, who are you cutting down? Because you either have to start playing Bays at the 5, because a lot of the minutes that are obvious to cut for me, it's like, well, Favors and Mike Muscala played 31 minutes combined in that game against Detroit. You probably don't need them playing 31 combined minutes. But at the same time, it's like, well, who are you going to play at the 5? Like, you have JRE, but who else? Like, unless you're willing to play Bays at the 5, where are you opening these minutes for Poku? You got to take minutes away from someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that they're wanting to try a bunch of stuff all season.
You want him to play 6 guys? You want him to play 6 guys at one time on the court to get Poku some extra run?
I mean,
Andrew, you got to choose who you want to cut. Whose minutes are you cutting, Andrew?
Number 7.
I mean, if you cut Bays down to like, which honestly he's been playing kind of like this, but if you cut him down to like 20 minutes a game.
Yeah. Cool. Do that.
But honestly, even in games when he's been playing 20 minutes, it's not like Poku's been getting 20. He's still getting like 15 or less.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think that he should get the minutes.
He probably should.
And they obviously have a very specific plan with Poku. I get that.
A secret plan.
But I would like to know what it would look like if you give him just like 3 weeks of just 20 minutes a game and just see what we can get, because it can't be that much worse than what number 7 has given us, right? Over the last 3 weeks.
No, it can't. I don't think they're going to cut Kenrich's minutes though. So like it's
I don't know. They did last year. They cut some of his minutes last year. I don't know. I'm not convinced that they won't do that. There's the thing about this team and the way that they've handled everything is like, there's no status quo. There's not like, okay, now we're settled in and this is where everything's going to go for the next, 60 games. Like that's not how it's been all season. Like Aaron Wiggins started a game, and then like they sent him back to the blue. Yeah. And I mean, things are going to change. We're going to get some Vit Krejci Thunder minutes this season. Like that's going to happen at some point. So, and at some point they're going to give Poku a better look. And I don't know what he has to do to get there, but eventually it's going to happen. Like
how much of that do you think will be dictated by what's going on in the rest of the standings? Because like tonight, they could easily beat the Raptors without Anunoby, so that would get them to 8 wins. All of a sudden, they're 4 wins ahead of Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that what's going to be driving it?
Maybe, perhaps. I mean,
Because I do think this team would
level down. Like you cut, like Kenrich, like just anybody that's 26 and older, just kind of stop playing them.
Yeah,
like
part of it, I think will still just work itself out. I mean, Detroit's not good. They're not good. And you talked about other times that OKC has had games like that. It was like against the Kings. It was against the Lakers, like teams that at that time were bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're bad teams. So I still think it's all going to work itself out in the end. I'm still not like worried at all.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. Like 0% worried.
0% worry.
0%
but
worried.
I will say, they need a star so bad, and if they don't, yes,
yeah,
and if they don't get one, like the longer they go without drafting a bona fide star on the level of like guys this year, I'd say like Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham.
Sure.
If you want to throw Scotty Barnes in, sure. But like those top 2 guys, if those were on my team, I would be like, this is a foundational piece, like top 2 player on my team. The longer they go without getting that guy, the more worried I am going to get that they are eventually just going to be capped in terms of their ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you do what they're doing, so that you can go get one of those guys.
Because you look at like when we think they're going to start being competitive, would you say like 2024, 2025?
Yeah, I mean, that's extremely reasonable, if not like overly patient. But yeah.
Like, don't you think that Memphis is aiming for that same exact time zone? And
I mean, they're supposed to be good today.
No, they don't, because they wouldn't have traded for Zaire Williams. They're not maximizing their now.
I think they want to be in the play-in again.
Maybe they do, but like my point is like they are way far ahead of OKC's schedule right now to be good in 24-25.
Yeah, the Thunder rebuild just started.
No, I know, but I'm saying like they're already like on their way there. We're aiming for that same time zone to be good, because by that time like Shai's going to be 27, 28.
I disagree. I think Memphis is I don't think Memphis is aiming for that. I think Memphis is aiming for they want to be competitive like right away.
I mean they want to be competitive, but they don't make that Zaire Williams trade if they're like that concerned about making the playoffs this year.
There's been very few they had like a middling draft pick, they traded up. I don't know. I mean, their draft history isn't like crazy stellar, and also they needed to take a swing at some point because they've just drafted like solid players all over the board. Like they needed to take a swing somewhere.
We say that, but like Desmond Bane looks like he's going to be like a top 3 or 4 player on a good team. Yeah. Like you talk about their drafting, look at OKC's drafting. Like who on this team do you really believe in? I believe in 3 guys: Shai, Dort, and Giddey. The rest of them, like I don't actually. I mean, I'm rooting for them to be good. I hope they are good. But I'm not locked in on. Yeah, I mean, sure. But I only feel good about 3 of them. Like I think if you go back and look at Presti's recent draft history, it's not stellar. It's not like we have all of these guys that we're like desperately trying to find minutes for.
Yeah. I mean, how many drafts are we talking? 3? 2?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that they've done it. I mean, this last draft went a lot better than what we thought it would go.
We say that, but like for me, that's just talking about Giddey. Like, how can we really make a conclusion on any of these other guys?
I don't understand why you're discounting Jeremiah so much.
I'm not discounting him. It's just like yes, he's
like you don't believe in him. I mean, that's about as discounting as it gets.
no. It's not that I don't believe in him. It's that what is that player going forward? Like, what are you actually excited about? Like, you think he's going to be a future starting center on the team,
I think he's a decent player.
or you think we found a bench big? Like, sure, okay, we found a bench big.
He's a good player. He's extremely versatile as a big man. Like, extremely versatile. Like, those guys can be tough to find. That can move their feet on the perimeter. That are strong enough in the post. And then the shooting stuff has been more impressive than I thought it would be. You know, I've been very impressed with him as a player.
That's fine. I
I don't understand. What's your point?
I'm just trying to be realistic as much as I can be, because I know that every other fan base feels this exact same way about their draft picks, about their young guys. Everyone does. Every fan base looks at their young guys and thinks that they did an awesome job drafting, and all their guys are going to hit their ceiling. And so Thunder fans are no different. We believe the same thing. We saw 9 minutes of Aaron Wiggins in an NBA game, and he got a couple rebounds, and we're like, wow, Presti did it again. The 55th pick. How does he do it? Keeps getting value. And I'm just trying to be a little bit more realistic and say the only guy I feel confident about right this second is Josh Giddey.
But that's the one they had to hit on.
I completely agree, but I also don't think of Josh Giddey in the Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley tier.
Because he was drafted 6th.
I know. I'm just saying they have to get actually good players, not these players where I'm like, ooh, maybe we got a bench big. Ooh, maybe we got a 10th man that
Getting
can
those
come off the bench.
is important. Like, drafting quality rotation players is important because of the free agent market. Like, finding a player, like the best player the Thunder have ever brought in via free agency is Nerlens Noel, probably, right? Like, that's probably
I would say Morrow, but
even Morrow. Like, okay, but listen, drafting those kind of guys that can be quality rotation players is really important to an Oklahoma City Thunder team. And yes, they had one quality pick in the draft, one, right? And they did a good job with it. Great. That's year one. Like, that's draft number 1 of the rebuild. Let's see what they do in draft number 2. They need a higher pick in draft number 2. They need to have a top 3 pick in draft number 2.
But what if they don't? Because that my assumption going in is that they will not. And the reason I say that is because you just look at the odds. The most likely scenario is that they won't. There's a better chance that they do not have a top 3 pick, even if they got the worst record in the league than for having a top 3 pick. The most likely scenario is that they are not going to get Paolo or Chet.
They need, I mean, they're going to put themselves in the best position possible to get a top 3 pick. I believe that will happen at the end of the day.
And I feel like we're all operating on that assumption.
Yeah.
What happened? And I'm just saying, let's open our mind to the possibility, because we just saw it happen in last year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they don't? What happens if they're at 4 or 5?
I mean, it's going to be on Sam and his team to figure out a way to get that blue chip talent. I mean, it's the expectation is not set by me. Like, it's not set.
I think it is
by what I'm saying. It's set by the goals that the Thunder organization said that they had, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, they're going to have to figure out where, and you know, we don't know really what happened with regards to like trade discussions in this past draft, or frankly, what their draft board looked like, because they may have had Giddey over Suggs. You know, that's a distinct possibility where they're sitting there at 6 and we're like, oh my gosh, you're right there. What are you doing? Like, offer 3 picks, whatever it takes to get there. We have enough of them. Like, offer it. And they're like, no, maybe they had Josh at 4. You know, we don't know.
Yeah. So
it also depends on not only where they are, but what does their draft board look like compared to other teams' draft boards? I mean, it's a very complicated conversation, but the truth of the matter is they need to have better luck in this next lottery. They just need to have better luck than they did It went about as poorly as it could have last year. They needed to go. If they end up with the third worst record, they need to get the third pick, or they need to get some luck and bump up. Like that's where they're at, and it's hard whenever it's completely out of your hands, because it is completely out of your hands. But they do need to draft a blue chip player in this next draft. It's a very, very important draft. Last year was an important draft. It went about as poorly as possible. They ended up getting one of the better players in the draft. Great. But you got to do it again, and you have to hit on a higher level prospect. And that's why I believe that they're going to hang on for 23 too. That they're going to try to have a team that is non-competitive in the following year and try to do this again. Like this is why you do it. Like you have to give yourself as many bites of the apple as possible. And eventually you're going to hit. Eventually the Sixers hit. You know,
eventually the Magic hit.
The Magic tried to be competitive for a long time. They tried. That was one of their problems, is that they kept trying to be competitive, and they kept trying to put teams on the court where they're not getting the top level picks. Like how many years in a row did they really, really try?
I don't know. I don't remember their
Rob Hennigan had the plug pulled on him pretty quick, where they're like, no, you need to go trade Victor Oladipo and your 11th or 12th pick or whatever it was for Serge Ibaka. Like you need to go make a move now. And the good thing about the Thunder's ownership group and their management is that we know that's not going to happen. They're not going to say we got to pull the plug on this like immediately. So
yeah.
It's apples to oranges with that situation.
I think what this is boiling down to for me, why I'm so stressed, is because I actually don't love the roster right now. Like I look around the league and I see a lot of young guys that I would rather have on this team, or I would rather see them developing in OKC. And as a result of that, like
what rosters are you talking about?
I mean, I don't really want to bring up this guy, but like Şengün. If Şengün was on this team, we would be going crazy, Andrew. We would be going absolutely crazy.
Dude, I've watched Şengün up close twice. He does some fancy stuff, but dude, the defense stuff, I don't know how much he played for Mark. He was
okay.
The worst.
That's why I didn't want to bring him up. Fine.
He was the worst defensive big on the court the entire night.
Yeah, well, who cares? Who cares? So he would have made us worse?
Why is he the first guy that you bring up? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Anyways,
but who are you talking about? Like, I just need to know who you're talking about, because like Shai is really good.
Yes, obviously. I said Shai, Dort, and Giddey I feel great about.
It's year one. What do you need? What else do you need to feel good about?
Listen, will you let me finish? The whole point is that I don't look at this roster and think I'm thrilled about it. I think they could bring in 3 rookies next year that would could potentially get minutes over anyone on the rest of this roster.
Definitely.
Like it's not like anyone has claimed a spot and you're like 2 months in, like this guy's a lock for minutes going forward. Like we thought that about Teo last year, and now he's completely out of the rotation. That could absolutely happen to Trey Mann next year. It could absolutely happen to JRE next year. I don't think that's crazy to say. They could bring in someone who is better than those players next year and all of a sudden is taking their minutes. And we're like, oh, wow, I guess that guy wasn't as good as we thought last year. It happens every year.
But that would be great to get better players.
I know. But that's my point. Like, I'm just realizing how much of this plan, and I knew this going in, but it's just way more stark to me now, how much of this plan rests on one day with that draft lottery ball, and where's it going to fall, and what pick are we going to get from that? Because if we don't hit, I don't see like where we're going necessarily.
That's what this is all about.
I know, but
this is why you have to be patient. Like, this is why you have to be patient, is because it takes years for these things to play out. Like this is not a one and done. Great, let's move on. Like this plan takes time. It takes time. And yeah, there's a lot of replaceable players on this team. That's why they're not good. That's why they're not a good basketball team. Like, like that's a part of this. If you have 3 guys on a team after year 1 of the rebuild, you're ahead of schedule. Like, look back at those Sixers teams after year 1 and how many guys on that roster were ready to were on the team when they competed. I mean, is it any of them?
What's crazy though, and this kind of scares me because I used to always say like, oh, those 76ers teams like weren't really developing anyone, like they were just stockpiling, these assets that never really turned into anything. Like as far as like Okafor, they clearly drafted Okafor as an asset, hoping that they could flip him.
Yeah.
But you start going back through those Sixers teams, and there were so many NBA players on those teams that just like slipped through the cracks. And it's very funny going back because everyone was focused on at the time was KJ McDaniels.
Yeah.
which is hilarious in retrospect because you go down the rest of the guys who are playing for those teams, and it is guys like Jeremy Grant or TJ McConnell or Robert Covington. There were so many Rashawn Holmes. Like there were so many future good rotation players that did not end up being on the Sixers.
And that will happen with OKC too. That will happen because the Thunder have too many picks. They're going to make too many selections. There's going to be guys that don't get their shot here that are going to go elsewhere and be good. That's going to happen. It's without a doubt going to happen. When you have
Teo will end up on the Spurs and be like their starting point guard in 2 years.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised by anything, because what you're describing is going to happen with Oklahoma City. It's going to happen. And you have to hope that they keep the right guys. But, when they drafted as many bigs as they did, like Rashawn Holmes couldn't play. There wasn't
how will you spin it when they fall to 5 or 6 in the draft? Because that's like all I'm thinking about right now.
It was. I didn't try to spin it on draft night. It was a failure. It was not what they wanted. It's not where you want to be.
It's just so scary, Andrew.
Nobody else wants to be there either. The organization didn't want to be there.
No, I know, but like we keep talking about the Sixers. The Sixers, because of the odds, like they got a top 3 pick every single time. Like they got Joel Embiid, Okafor, and Simmons were all top 3 picks.
Yeah,
and they did that in 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah, like that's when you have to. Eventually, if you don't land there, if they don't land there in the next 2 years, and they need to try to overwhelm somebody with a trade. Like overwhelm somebody. I don't think that's happened yet. Where they've been like, we'll give you 4 unprotected picks.
Yeah.
To get the blue chipper. And somebody will fall for it. I don't know who it is, but it's and with it being a big draft, you have to hope that they're a team that has a lot of bigs lands at the top, and maybe they want to trade back, or maybe they just want to take somebody. Maybe they want to take Jaden Ivey, like we talked about that. But there's no certain. With the living in Oklahoma City, having a team in Oklahoma City, there's no certain plan that like this delivers you. We haven't talked about the Pacers yet, but like the Pacers just tried to just cobble up as many rotation guys and like good to decent players as they could to make a good team. And it doesn't always work. Like it's not working. They even hired somebody they thought was a top 5 coach in the NBA, and it's not working. There's no guaranteed way for you to, there's no guaranteed path. There's like slivers of percentage points when you're talking about how teams have made it here. The thing is that like the getting free agents that's not a path. Like the path it's just a cliff and you just fall off it and you die. Trading, yeah, you can trade. The Thunder have plenty of assets. They have plenty of young players that they could trade. They could trade Josh Giddey and picks and go get a player that's better than Josh today and get better. They could trade for the indie guys. They could do those things. That could happen. But is your path to even being a playoff team every single year going to be there? I don't know. How long are those guys going to want to stay here? I don't know. It's a riskier path. And then you have the draft path, where the draft is largely a crapshoot. You're not, even if you draft in the top 3, we talked about the Sixers drafting in the top 3, you miss. Sometimes you miss in the top 3. There's no guarantees. Like, we're talking about like a 33% chance of getting where you want to go. Like, the odds are against you in every single path that you take to try to get to where you want to go. It's just that the odds aren't as against you when you go to the draft, because you actually have a chance to keep players for a long period of time. They have a good chance to keep Shai for a long time, Josh for a long time. They're going to extend Dort, like that's going to happen, or they let him go to, free agency, and I'll bet you he'll resign here. Like, there's like, the path is there. And then if you get somebody in 22, you get somebody in 23, and just one of them hits. You don't even have to have, if you hit on both, like, wow. If you hit on one, great. Look where the Sixers are. They just had to hit twice. And really, they just absolutely just needed to hit once. It's really the only path if you want to really compete, because the other ways to do it are even worse than like what you're describing. Like, it's even, because then you have to rely on other teams making a bad trade, basically, or whoever is available. And if they're available, how many years do they have left? And if they have only a few more years left, like, what are the odds that they want to stay here in Oklahoma City? Do they like Shai? Do they like this? Do they like the new park that they put downtown? Like, what do we like? No, they probably don't. They probably like Los Angeles or New York better. So, like, I mean, this is the only way. This is the way.
It's just I'm just feeling like more and more pressure as the season goes on, because we keep talking about the process. Dude, Sam Hinkie had an advantage that OKC just does not have, which is the odds.
Yeah, it's
that
true.
kept them in that top 3, which means that whatever the chances that Philly was going to succeed at doing what they were wanting to do, landing a star,
Yeah.
OKC's is significantly less than that.
Yeah.
And we talked about how hard that was for Philly to do, like what they had to go through as a franchise, the fact that you sometimes miss in the top 3. The odds were stacked against them.
Yeah.
And our odds are even worse. And yet when I talk, like, when you read Thunder fans' opinions, there's this assumption that, like, everyone's assuming this is going to work.
Yeah.
Everyone's working under the assumption that this is all going to turn around at some point. We're not just going to be a good team like the Memphis Grizzlies right now. We are going to be a contender.
Yeah.
That is like the smallest scenario percent chance. The
It
overwhelming odds are that this doesn't work out if that's what we think is going to happen. Like, if you think OKC is going to be a contender, I would say that's like under 20% chance of happening.
The odds are low. The odds are low. It's low for any team unless you're located in Los Angeles or New York.
It absolutely is. But I just want to, like, keep reminding myself and others of that, because we get in this habit of, like, we have a plan, which is good. Like, I feel great that we have a plan. I know what the plan is.
You have to have a plan.
But the most likely outcome is the plan is not going to work.
Well, that's been your message for today, for your Wednesday, everybody. No, I mean, yeah, but also the reason that I would feel more like you do if they didn't have the stockpile of picks backing it up, because you bend the odds a little bit more your way when you have as many assets as they do. So yes, you need things to go a certain way, but having all the assets they do gives you at least one other avenue, one other option, one other way for it to work.
Yeah. I'm more.
If you don't have them, then you really are. It's lottery balls only.
I completely agree. I'm just. Aren't you down or not as high as you once were on the pick stash as a whole? Like, if you actually go through those picks, the way I felt about them, even, like, obviously after the SGA Paul George trade, to the way I feel about them now, Like, how many of those picks actually have a chance to be blue chippers? It's very small number. I mean, all the Houston picks are top 4 protected. You're basically throwing everything onto those Clippers picks.
Yeah.
And if those Clippers picks don't come through, then yeah, you have a bunch, the Houston picks become the best picks, and maybe they're, somewhere between like a 5 and 14 range. But the rest of them are all going to be mid to late first. So, like, yes, I agree with you.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I am not a huge believer in the way that Houston's handling their rebuild right now.
But again, they're top 4 protected.
Yeah.
They're all protected.
I understand that. And we just had a team that had the 3rd best odds fall to 6.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, those could be potentially the best, but none of them are. You're not. I don't feel right now that any of those picks are like, this has a legit shot to be a top 3 pick. None of those, either because of the protections or because the Clippers, I just think, are a really well-run organization with a great coach. And I just don't know if they're ever truly going to bottom out without a catastrophic injury to like both of their best players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just don't know. I can't look at all of those in the future and tell you what they're going to be and how they're going to fall. Like, I'm not concerned about that at all. And we don't even know if they're going to be selecting somebody with those picks. Like, we may not have all those picks in the next 2 years.
Oh, they can't.
Oh.
They literally can't.
I mean, I'm just
draft all of them.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not worried about. I'm not concerned about that. I don't even really spend time thinking about that, honestly, because I mean, things change so fast in the NBA. Like, we just don't. I mean, we honestly just don't have any idea. Even this year, like, we don't really know where teams are going to fall or what's going to happen, or if Paul George gets hurt and is out for 4 weeks, or if Paul George turns it on and is the MVP of the league. Like, we don't know. Like, I have no idea.
Sure, but like, dude, you can look at other teams and say, oh, I would rather have the Lakers picks that the Pelicans have right now. We can all agree on that, right? You would rather have those Lakers picks.
Like, the Lakers always just pull a rabbit out of their hat,
No, they picked in the top 3 like 3 years in a row.
I know, but they are a different organization now than they were during that era. That's when the Bus brothers were running the team. That's a different team.
Dude, they're terrible now, the organization.
I would disagree, but
you liked the Westbrook signing, the trade. you thought it was a good fit.
I'm not saying that. But I don't know. I don't know that I would want. I think the Lakers picks are going to be middling to not great.
That's the exact way I feel about the Clippers picks. And it has way more to do about the structure of that organization. Like, I like Ty Lue more than I like Frank Vogel.
But
I like Steve Ballmer more than Jenny Buss.
But this is why you lose, though.
Buss.
The Thunder have never been reliant, like sitting back thinking, oh man, these Clippers picks are going to deliver us our franchise.
That's what we've been thinking.
I've not been thinking that.
That's what Thunder fans think.
Well, they're wrong. I don't think that. I think that those picks were always going to be the icing on the cake or the sprinkles. Like, they were never going to be what the Thunder relied on to get their next star.
Question is, what kind of cake is it going to be by the time we get there, Andrew?
Man, I don't know what happened to you, Alex. Who did this to you? Who hurt you? I don't know.
I'm just trying to.
You're like loving Darius Baisley at the beginning of this podcast, and then at the end you're like,
wasn't allowed
on like the draft picks. I am just like,
that was love.
Flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted by what's happened today.
No, it's more just, you know what it is? Since we started doing Slam and Jam, I've listened to way less national podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to way more local podcasts made by fans.
Yeah. And
what you invariably find is that every single team thinks they're doing the right thing, other than the Kings. Like Detroit, if you go listen to Detroit, they are very excited about their future.
Yeah.
Think that they're going to be a great team.
Yeah.
Orlando feels that way with all their young guys, and Mo Bamba's playing good now. Like, everyone feels this way. And so when you step out of your little bubble of the Oklahoma City Thunder, where everything's always going to turn out right, and you realize that every other fan base feels this exact same way about their team, and you realize that the vast majority of them are going to be dead wrong. That's all. That's all, Andrew. I'm just trying to be a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, I agree, but the Thunder have advantages that a lot of organizations don't have, and that's good ownership and a really good general manager. And those things very much matter. Very, very much matter. Like Orlando, the Kings, whoever else, like the track record isn't there. It doesn't exist.
I mean, Kings. I'm never going to argue about the Kings. They're garbage.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. There was an article on Kings Herald that was just basically, I was supposed to write a like an update. How are the Kings doing this season? I can't do it.
Yeah.
This team is so depressing. I'm giving up. That was one of the most recent articles on their fan blog. That's we talk about, and I will say this for Oklahoma City, another advantage they have. I do think they have a very committed, engaged fan base, which you desperately need. And frankly, that is one of the reasons why the national media, I don't want to say attacks, but they talk about OKC more, because we actually have a plan. We believe, we talk about it a lot. We're very open about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is a very good thing. And the worst thing you can have as a fan base, which is what this article is talking about with the Kings fans, is apathy, where like you're not even mad at the team anymore. You're not even upset anymore. You're just like, I could do something better with my time.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch the Kings anymore.
Yeah. I mean, having a plan, and not only having a plan, you have the largest stockpile of draft picks in the history of the NBA. And you have a GM and an ownership group that are committed to a plan. You have what is a extremely good culture around these players. Like a bad cultured team would have lost to Detroit. They couldn't have picked themselves back up. After
it would have improved their odds, is what you're saying?
What are you doing, Al? Like, what is going on with you? I just don't understand. Like, this is not the plan was never going to be easy, but you can't ride the wave of everything. You can't tell me that you look at Alperen Şengün and think, if we only had him, everything would be different.
Listen, like, I feel the same way that I did on draft night. I just felt like there were enough open spots on our roster that why not take a few guys that have higher ceilings? Just because who cares? Like, let's just try some of them out. Which maybe you disagree. Maybe you're out there and you're saying, I actually think Trey Mann has a super high ceiling. I think Jerry has a super high ceiling.
I don't know that Jerry has a super high ceiling. I think Trey Mann does. I don't know if Trey Mann will work, but like Trey's been impressive for where he was drafted and what we thought he would be. You don't think so? What is wrong with you? You're not watching the games? Like, you're not watching Trey play? Like, he can create space better than probably anybody besides Shai on the court. He's competing on the defensive end. Like, what else do you want?
No, I don't want anything. But I'm not going to act like I'm sold on Trey Mann because he's playing 10 minutes a night and he has some nice plays.
You don't have to be sold on anybody, but like, these are first-year players.
That's what. Yeah, but if you go on Thunder Twitter, it's like,
what? Then maybe you should stay off Twitter. Like, maybe you need to look at the list of people that you follow, and like, you don't need to follow the super fans that are out there just pumping sunshine about every single player. Like, you can't fall into those traps. Like, I'm with you that you can't fall into those traps. I don't know if Trey Mann is going to be a rotation player in 3 years. I have no idea. I just know that he's shown like good flashes that have been, and he's played well. I didn't know how much he played this year at all, honestly. And the fact that he's already pushed himself into the rotation, like, that's a good sign. Like, talking to people within the organization about him and the work that he's put in, there are good signals here. You know, there are good signals here. Hey, you know what else is good?
What?
These Poku packs. I've got one right here.
Poku.
I can't wait. Honestly, I just have to plan a family vacation just so that I can wear this around. Like, this is like, unless you're cool, like, I'm not cool, but this is definitely like dad vacation, status, right? Like this one, maybe this one is more of like the dad vacation status. This is another reason why you should be watching on YouTube. This one's pretty cool. It's got the top where it's got the Poku signature stitched in with the P here. If you want to get one of these, you can go to shopgoodokc.com and purchase them there. You can also purchase them at any Shop Good location. There's only 2. One is downtown OKC. One is in Chisholm Creek near Edmond. And then on the 16th, at the downtown location, 16th of December, Poku will be there, signing packs. Hanging out. So if you want a chance to meet Poku and have him sign your pack, be there at Shop Good in downtown Oklahoma City on December 16th. It's going to be fun. I will be there as well. So come hang out, say what's up.
What's up?
Hope you guys have a great day. And we'll talk to you guys again on Friday.